Hello, I'm Marcia Grace Snyder Morris O'Brien Lopeman. I am Ray Lopeman's wife of 34 years. Ray is the most ambitious, creative, achieving man I or most of us have ever known. And I wanted his children to have a record of him. We'll begin with the basics. So Ray, what is your name? How old are you? Where were you born?
My name is Raymond Edwin Lopeman. I was born in a little house that my dad had dug out on the side of the hill in a little bit north of Hoisington, Kansas, in August the 5th, 1932. At this point, I'm 83 and a half years old.
And what were your parents' names?
My mother was Eunice Novella Denny Lopeman. My dad was Kenneth Edwin Lopeman.
Describe for us, Ray, the house that you were born into.
Well, wasn't very big. It was probably 20 by 20. My dad dug into the side of a hill and put up 4 concrete walls and a flat tar roof, wood tar roof on it. And it had kind of a half wall dividing it into almost two rooms. We all slept in one back room. There were no windows in the house. There was a window in the door, and that was front part was where we ate, and the kitchen. No running water, no bathroom, no electricity.
And where was that?
It was just north of Hoisington, Kansas.
Okay. Where was the next place that you lived?
That farm was leased by my step-grandfather, Sherman Hall, and my dad, and they lost the lease on that place. So we temporarily moved to Great Bend, Kansas, which is where my mother is from. And we lived in a little greenhouse there for maybe 2-3 months during the summer. And then we bought a ranch in Ness City, Kansas, an old homestead place.
Tell us about that Ness City, Ray.
Well, it was a nice little place. It was flat land. I had one gully on the northeast corner of the pasture. It had an old homestead stone house on it, 2 rooms, no running water, no electricity, no bathrooms, no kitchen sink. It had 2 rooms and a closet. Mom and Dad slept in the, what I call the front room, and us kids slept in the closet, and the kitchen was the other room where we ate, and etc. It had a pump, a windmill right outside the door. And then we had another pump and windmill out by a large stone barn. About 400 acres. Dad grew wheat, mostly wheat as far as growing. We ran cattle, fed all the winter time. And he ran a lot of, and he ran a cash crop every year, something different: taters, watermelon, etc. Our school that we went to was right at the end of our property, about less than a half mile from the house. It was a 1-room schoolhouse. I think there were 7 of us that went to that school, and 1 was a girl. It was a good time. It was a nice place to live. It had a little orchard that had planted some peach trees. It had a little gully running through it that run a little bit of water when it rained, which wasn't too often in Kansas. A lot of cottonwood trees. We had a lot of fun playing in them cottonwood trees.
And what animals did you have there?
Mostly just cattle. We had horses and cattle.
Chickens.
And chickens, of course, and we always kept a pig to butcher once a year. Dad would at least butcher 1 pig a year, and usually 1 cow a year.
And the garden?
Oh yeah, huge garden. Mom always canned everything because we had no electricity and no refrigeration of any kind. So she canned almost constantly, it seemed like. In the wintertime, we could keep some frozen beef in the ground that we dug outside the house, by the corner of the house, to keep it frozen. Otherwise, we took the rest of the beef and the meat to a town in the city where we kept it in a food locker. And so when they go to town once a month or whatever, they could bring back some frozen meat.
How far were you from the closest town, Ness City?
About 35 miles.
Wow. The next place that you lived, and how old were you then?
The next place we lived was, I think I was about 14. fact, I was 14. Dad bought a couple thousand acres of wheat land in Akron, Colorado, and we were all going to move over there. But Mother decided that she wanted to live in town. She'd had enough of living without water and electricity, and so Dad bought a little two-story house in just outside the city limits in Boulder, Colorado. Paid $6,400 for it. It was on about 5 acres, had a good barn, and Mother and us kids moved there. Dad stayed over on the farmland for the summer, and he was gone a lot every summer on custom combining, so he was gone most every summer for several years.
Did you ever go custom combining with him?
Oh yes, we went custom combining with Dad. I wanted to go the first year he went out from Colorado, but he didn't want us kids along or anybody, so after he left, it was summertime, school was out. I just went on the highway and hitched my way to Kansas and found him in the wheat fields in Kansas.
How old were you then?
I think I was close to 14.
Yes. Okay. Any other memories of Boulder? What about high school? High school days?
Boulder is where I went to high school. I went to junior high first. We had Casey Junior High, and that's where I got involved with sports, wrestling and football and track and all that sort of stuff. And then went to Boulder High School, which is down the road another mile or two. We always walked to school. It was never, I don't think, more than a mile to the high school, and maybe a mile and a half to the junior high. So it wasn't bad. And it was good fun. One of our best times. We had great activities in the schools. Good teachers, a lot of good sports.
What was your best sport, Ray?
Oh, probably my best was wrestling, but I love football and I love track.
All right. Tell us about what Coach said to you about your wrestling career.
Oh, Coach Pat Batten, wonderful guy. He lived to, gosh, I can't remember. He's in the late 80s. Anyway, he thought that I had the potential because he had tried out for the Olympics and did not make it. And he thought at one time that I might have the potential to do it if I worked at it hard.
But what did you do instead?
Well, instead of that, I joined the Navy. I've always been kind of footloose and free of other kids. I was just 17 then. So I decided I quit school and joined the Navy, and I got sent to California for boot camp. Never been anywhere hardly in my life, and the ocean was great. I had a great time in boot camp. Top 10 in my class. The Korean War broke out right at that time, right after I'd been in a few months, and they needed medical corpsmen for Korea, so they took the company, made most of us that were qualified, sent us to court school in Balboa Naval Hospital. And that's where I took my medical training.
Did you enjoy the service?
I enjoyed the service. I had a good time. It was kind of frustrating at times, but yes, I enjoyed the service. It was good education,
What
good
countries
fun.
did you see?
Well, the first time when I left the medical school in Balboa, they sent me to a old hospital they were opening up in Corpus Christi, Texas, for the wounded to bring in from Korea. And I really didn't want to be there. I'd been to Texas before, didn't do a thing for me. So I wiggled my way into getting a transfer. Probably not a great way to do it, but anyway, I got a little bit of a court-martial so I could be transferred out of that place. And they transferred me to a heavy cruiser, the USS Roanoke, in Norfolk, Virginia. Hadn't been on it about a week or so, and it took off and went down south to all the Caribbean islands, down to Panama Canal, all through the South Africa, that country. Had a great time, great ship. Came back from there, and I finagled way off there because most ships go back, they tour the same areas, and I didn't want to go back there. I wanted to see more of the world, so I got transferred to an aircraft carrier up in Quonset Point, Rhode Island. And that aircraft carrier went all over the North Seas, up around Greenland, Iceland.
Sit still.
It went into the Mediterranean, Italy, Germany, North Africa, Gibraltar. We had a great cruise, great time. Had some huge storms. Had our ship damaged in a storm. So we had to pull into Gibraltar and go into dry dock and had the screws repaired. It came back, and of course was going to be stateside for a few months, then it would go back again to that same area. I didn't want to do that, of course. So when I asked for a transfer and had a little argument with the captain, he got mad at me and going to teach me a lesson, and he sent me to the Marine Corps. It was absolutely great.
Did you have to go through boot camp there?
I went to boot camp in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
Was it scary?
No, it was absolutely great. We got to ride and shoot and do anything you could think of. We did invasions of the islands in the Caribbean. Spent 3 weeks down on an island, eating coconuts and shooting people. It was absolutely great. Had a ball.
Okay, round about somewhere in here, you were married.
Yeah, that was before, actually, between the Roanoke and the aircraft carrier. I met a little girl there. Her name was Barbara Vibert. We only knew each other for a month or so. And I don't know why, for some reason, we decided to get married, and we did.
How old were you and her?
I was 19. She was only 16. She got his folks' permission. We were married by justice of the peace. And I think 1 or 2 days after that, I left for about 4 months before I came back.
Did you have any children?
No, we didn't have any children until, years later, after I got out of the service, we had children.
No, that was Barbara, you had children.
After Cheryl was born in Boulder, Colorado, after I got out of the service.
Well, that marriage ended.
Yes.
And then where did you go?
Well, after I got out of the service, I stayed in Portsmouth, Virginia for a while and worked as a parts manager for Beals, DeSoto, in Plymouth, just to get enough money to buy a car. I bought a 46 Buick and to drive it home. And Barbara and I drove and went back to Boulder, Colorado, where I got a job on a dam west of Denver, worked on its construction for a while. And television was just coming in those days. It's 54, 55. And so I took some training and became a TV repairman. And I did that for a while. It got kind of boring. And I heard about a job down in Louisiana breaking some swamp horses for a guy. So I got in the car and drove down there. I had an old Studebaker convertible. And drove down there. The job wasn't much. Wasn't going to pay anything. And I was there, and I went around looking for a little TV repair job so I could get some money to take care of myself and get back home. And this guy that I applied to the job for wanted to sell his business. I had no money, but he said he'd take it on payments if I wanted to buy it, so I bought it. My first business I ever owned. I had no idea what I was doing, but I could repair things. I had one employee, and it was pretty successful little business. Stayed down there, maybe a year and a half, and then went back to Boulder.
Okay, that obviously was before the divorce, I suppose.
That was before the divorce.
Yes, okay.
I didn't get divorced till 58.
And Ray, what ended that marriage?
She found another feller. We always say he was a milkman. She found another feller, and they came to me and said they wanted to get married, and that was it. So they got married, and I got divorced.
And where did you go from there?
I was on the fire department at that time, Boulder Fire Department. Good job, but very, very boring. Nowhere to really go. So Dad wanted to go back to farming, and he's getting rather old to be doing that. But we decided we'd buy a place together and try it. So we bought a place in Curtis, Nebraska. 440 acres, great land, loved it, beautiful place. But just couldn't make a living for two of us. And when Barbara and I got divorced, they wanted no child support or alimony or anything. They just wanted to divorce, and they was going to leave town. And they left and went to California. And as soon as they got out there, I guess it was something came up anyway. They sued me for all the back child support and alimony they could get. I had no money, so I had to get a job. In the meantime, I had met a girl, another girl, and I brought her up to the ranch with us. She's an old farm girl, Joyce. Kiefer. Joyce Kiefer. And we got married at the Methodist Church in Curtis, Nebraska. Shortly after that, we left. I got an old Plymouth sedan. I think it was a 1936 Plymouth sedan. We drove that thing to San Diego, California. She had worked there before and had a job waiting for her. I got a job as a TV repairman again. It's easy to get if you, and had to have something. We lived in La Jolla, California, on the beach. Nice little place we had. We worked there for, maybe less than 2 years. And I decided, this is the telephone. I decided I wanted to do something else, and that was to fly an airplane.
Hello. Hello.
Before we were rudely interrupted, I decided I wanted to fly an airplane. I'd never done that before, and I just finished building a go-kart for the first time I'd ever had one of those, and I raced go-karts for about a year. A lot of fun. So I got a part-time job with San Diego Aircraft down at Lindbergh Field in San Diego to help me pay for getting lessons for flying. And I got a commercial flying license and got to my helicopter. I wanted a helicopter commercial class license. And the day I was going to take my final from my commercial helicopter, this guy that owned San Diego Aircraft absconded with the funds and left the country, and left me a note saying, "Ray, the business is yours." There was nothing I could do with it. It was so far in debt. I owed everybody in town. The people came, got the airplanes and the helicopters, so we were out of business. I was out of a job. So I started my second real business of my own, which is Ray's Aircraft Sales in Brown Field in San Diego. I've managed to get a few airplanes on consignment, and I think I sold one. Wasn't making much money doing that either. So I gave that business up and started looking for a job, and I found one at Allied Refrigeration Suppliers.
Ray, did you and Joyce have any children?
No, we never had any children, but years later, actually a couple years, we got divorced later also in 1979. No, 1970.
60? Something?
Anyway, somewhere in that area. She kept wanting children. She couldn't have any. I couldn't have any. So we adopted a child. That child was Tammy Ray. She's been the delight of our life ever since. Still doing well.
So you did divorce.
We did divorce finally.
And then what did you do?
I was still with Allied. I stayed with Allied for 20 years. I went to work for them in, late 62, November of 62, as an outside salesman. It was a commercial refrigeration supply company. They supplied commercial parts and equipment to contractors only. I knew nothing about the business, never sold anything in my life really. But I enjoyed it, it was fun, and wasn't long that I wasn't there a year, and I was made manager of that store. It was a division of Aerorisco Incorporated out of Los Angeles, which had stores in 3 states. I had a great time, tripled the business. I finally, after maybe 3-4 years, I became division manager of the Allied division, which had other stores in other parts of the state, and kept managing San Diego. Then eventually I became president of their international division, which is an import-export division, and president of their manufacturing division, and finally vice president of the whole corporation.
Not bad for an old farm boy.
I had a lot of fun. It was a good company. During all those years, it was a very easy job to do. I had a lot of fun. I traveled a lot. And I also started doing a lot of businesses.
Okay. And married again.
I did get married again. And I don't know why I got married again that time. It just happened.
To whom?
A nice lady.
What's her name?
No problems, but I just didn't work out. I just couldn't, it wasn't my lifestyle or hers. I'm a very busy point. I had businesses going. I had a job to do, and so that marriage didn't work out either.
What was her name?
Her name was Patty O'Brien.
Okay. All right. Now, you're in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we met.
Yes, we did. I was asked by your husband, ex-husband. I just met him, and he asked me to meet his wife at the airport and take her wherever she had to go. I don't remember what it was, because he couldn't be there.
And we were coming in, Mick, Dave, and I were coming in from Connecticut.
Okay.
And you met us at the airport.
I met him at the airport. I thought it might be kind of fun to give him a little California welcome. So I put on a pair of bib overalls, no shirt, no shoes, had a red bandana tied around one toe, had my teeth blacked out, hair part in the middle. Went running down the middle of the airport, Lindbergh Field, hollering, "There's my new thither."
Yes, but I had never met you, never seen you.
We never met, never seen, but she went running, kids went running, I chased them down, caught them. It was funny. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. So we were married in the Methodist Church.
Oh yeah, years later.
1982.
1982 we were married.
And then where did we go? We were married in...
Well, we got married and I wanted to retire. We got married when I was 50. And I wanted to retire as soon as I could. And when I was 52, we bought a home in Kanab, Utah. And probably the best thing we ever did. It's an old two-story house that had been empty for years and years, built in 1807. 1907. And we did a complete remodel job on it. And enjoyed southern Utah. It's where we got involved with the church, which we had joined just before we left. The Mormon Church, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Best thing we've ever done. It just changed our lives completely. And gave us a lot of freedom that we really didn't have before.
And what did you do for a living there? Anything or not?
Well, I planned on not doing anything. After a while, a friend of ours wanted me to, he had a real estate company, wanted me to get a real estate license and help him down there. So I did get a real estate license. But I really didn't like sitting at my desk all day doing nothing. I usually was out on my horse riding around the countryside. So I only did that for that one summer, I think.
So did you run for mayor?
Yeah, I ran for mayor the first year we was there. I don't know why. But everybody was talking about, asking me if I would do it, and so I did. I ran for mayor. I lost by just a handful of votes from a guy who had been the mayor for years. He ran again. And almost beat him. It was quite sensational, really, for me. Didn't expect to even get a vote, but other than my wife, of course. But we did. We just almost beat him. Less than a handful of votes that we lost it by. And
County commissioner?
then I ran for county commissioner. I was asked by a bunch of people to run for county commissioner. I did run for county commissioner, and I did win. And I was county commissioner for 4 years. It was a good time. I had some rough times in there, but tried really hard to be a politician of the people, and it was really hard to do because they just politicians just don't let you move much. Anyway, we made some big improvements on the county in those 4 years that we was in. Made a lot of great changes, and everybody was pretty happy with it.
And then the frontier town, explain that.
Yeah, well, I saw a piece of land right downtown. It was empty next to a motel. It was a little over an acre, and it had an old house on it that really wasn't really livable. But anyway, I bought it. And Marcia was really upset that I bought that place. But I did, and I had visions of, for a few months, we had worked in the evenings for Brother Judd, who had a gift store for tourists down the other end of town. And he started putting on some cookouts for them. And Marcia and I did the shows for him, the entertainment shows.
You built that.
And I built that town for him, an old frontier town in the back. It's small, but we built it behind his store, and we did shows for him, and it was fun. We had a good time doing it, and we made some money. We got paid well for what we did, and the idea was that we'd do the first summer together, 3 people, one were cooking, and he owned the property, and we did the entertainment. That we would, 3 of us would form a corporation, and we would, if it was successful, and we'd run that business. Well, it was very, very successful, and at the end of the season, when tourist season's over with, he decided that he didn't really need us anymore, that he could do without us and do the show himself. So that's fine if that's the way he wanted to be. I went down to the property I had bought, and I built a complete frontier movie town with over 20 buildings, and it turned out very successful, very well, and it was 10 times what his was. And he went out of business, by the way, years later.
Tell us about the little house that was on the property.
Oh, there was a little house on it, set up on the corner. It really wasn't in our way, and so I kept it to rent it.
But
And
David and Mickey lived there for a while.
David, our son, and his wife, they needed a place to live, so we made a contract sale to sell that little piece of property and house to him and his wife. And they complained all the time about it. I don't blame them. It was a terrible house. It wasn't worth putting any money into.
She left.
So I just, when they left, they got divorced. When they left, I burned it down. And we got rid of our first and last rental property. Made a parking lot out of where that area was.
Okay.
Then we decided that we'd been in Kanab long enough. It was time to move. Well, I'd seen every inch of that country. I think I've ridden every inch of it from way down Canyon de Cheyenne, Arizona, clear up past Boulder and Beaver. We've ridden horseback that whole country for weeks at a time. And it's a gorgeous country, but we knew everybody around there, and it was time for us to move.
But let's speak about the fall you took when you were riding.
Oh,
You and David
I
were
forgot
riding.
about that. I'd set up I was setting up I want to do a horseback trail ride for tourists to take them on trips. So I got on my horse with my son David, and we were going to ride and laid up a new trail ride that I could take tourists on for 3 to 5 day rides. And we hardly got out of town. There's a real cliff right behind the town of Kanab that has a small narrow trail, climbs up right up the side of the cliff all the way up to the top so you can get up on top and go on cross country. And I took a horse with me that had nearly had no trail experience, and I wanted to take her because I wanted her to get some. And she got about halfway up that trail, maybe 150 feet or 200 feet up that trail to the side of the mountain, and spooked. And she reared up, and I thought she was going over, so I jumped off from her. And I went over the cliff, not her. And we went down over probably 150 feet. Broke my arm, cut me up quite a bit, and broke my neck, C1 in 5 places. Again, the wonderful church that I'm in, I got blessings on the side of the hill. I got blessings when they got me to the hospital. They couldn't do anything for me. I was in too bad a shape, so they life-flighted me to Salt Lake City, where I was put in a halo bracelet I wore for about 5.5 months. Still got blessings all the way. Came out of it just perfectly. And chances are 99 to 100 that I wouldn't. Good Lord wanted to keep me around for a while, I reckon. Anyway, we survived that.
And went?
And went to Oklahoma. We saw a brochure about Oklahoma ranch property, and I thought it really would be great. We'd bought 640 acres in Kanab, but the land was so bad that we couldn't really raise much on it. I thought I'd put another frontier town up there and maybe a horse ranch, but it just wasn't available to do anything with that property. It's too rough, no water, no grass. So we bought a cattle ranch in Oklahoma. It was only 100 acres, but I could run about 300 head of stockers on it if I wanted to. We never ran more than 100 head. And we stayed there almost 10 years. A great country, great people. Only place left in America where you can carry your own gun, own your own property and everything on it and around it. we really enjoyed Oklahoma.
And why did you leave?
Well, somebody got a wild hair. They wanted to go see something else. We've been there long enough.
So where did we go?
Well, our friends in the Puffers in Kanab, Utah, kept insisting we come back up there. And we had a lot of good friends, and every one of them just insisted we come back to Kanab. Marcia and I aren't much for going back to somewhere where we've been. We thought, oh gosh, okay, let's give it a try. We had a free apartment offered to us while we were building a house. Everybody helped us move. They were just fabulous to us. So we did. We built a new house, and nice shop, nice house. We opened up a thrift store there. I had a ball with that. Thrift store was very successful. We sold that business. We financed it. We'd also, when we sold our frontier town, we financed it. Everything was going well for us, but we stayed there a little less than 2 years, and cause it's just too small, and we'd seen everything. There was nothing for us to do, nowhere to go. We knew everybody, so we went on a drive again, and we wound up in all places, southern New Mexico, almost to the Mexican border, way up in the mountains at 6,000 feet, a little town called Silver City. And there we bought a few acres outside of town. Loved it, remodeled it, restored it. We had a little business there that we started making. We made a couple movies. A friend of mine had a little bit of money, and he bought the equipment, and we made 2 movies there. And it was fun. But we ran out of things to do there too. There's not much around there. You had to go a long ways to do anything. We rode a few horses, seen a few things, and then that was about it. So we started looking for another place to go. And we thought, of all the places we wanted to go, that we ought to find somewhere where we really liked, where we could retire and stay for a while. I was getting up in years.
I wanted to go to California.
So Marcia wanted to be near children for a while. The only children we had that had a bunch of grandkids around was up close was Nick. So we thought we'll go up. He lived in Redding, California, way up north. And of course we had Tammy in California. We had David in California. Alan was in Nevada, which is not too far away. And who else? Was that it?
That was
okay.
Close by.
They were close enough where we could really go visit them if we wanted to. We could see all of them easy in a day. And we bought a house in Redding, California, just like everybody else. Suburbs, in town, sidewalks, paved, neighbor on each side of you, so close you could hardly squeeze out the door. Nice little house. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Marcia was pretty happy being with the kids and stuff. So we stayed there a couple years.
3
Three?
3 years.
3 years. We stayed there 3 years. And then we decided we'd look for a place where we really need to settle down. I'm starting to get to be old age. And we thought of all the places we've lived, and I think together we've lived in 22 states around the country. So we thought of wherever we'd like to go, that people were nice, and we really could spend the rest of our lives in one spot, and that was Oklahoma. So here we are, back in Oklahoma. Nice few acres of property. Church is great, people are great. God's good to us. We're going to stay here. I think this is where we'll end our lives, here in Oklahoma.
Oh, I like it here too. Okay, let's talk about some hobbies you've had in your lifetime.
Hobbies.
Hobbies. You don't call them hobbies, but things that have interested you the most.
Well, when I first got to California, I loved the water, and I liked the ocean. And I learned how to water ski. I became Commodore of a boat ski club, and just had a ball skiing every weekend all around the country. We'd drive up to Frisco and over to Colorado River. A lot of good places to water ski, and so it got me interested in boats. I found me an old flat bottom boat and made a ski boat out of it, and then I got a little hydro and I made a boat out of it, and I bought a outboard ski boat. And then I went and had one made for me, a 22-foot with a big 455 Oldsmobile engine in it. And loved it to death. I bought a Penguin sailboat, small sailboat, and I loved it. And then I went and bought me a hull, manufactured in Los Angeles, a company going out of business. It was a 41-foot hull sailboat, and I hauled that down to my backyard, and I built me a 41-foot sailboat with a Mercedes diesel engine in it, and I was going to sail around the world. The boat turned out beautifully, and after I divorced, I lived on it for 3 years by myself, and absolutely had a great time with it. And during that time, I went in partnership with a guy on a 65-foot powerboat that we converted into a dive boat, charter dive boat.
Now this is while you were still married to Patty. Yes.
Yes.
That was before we were married, all of those
yes,
boats.
all that, both were all before we were married. And during that time, too, I got involved years ago, even while I was in with boats, I got involved with racing motorcycles. I bought a little 90 Hodaka.
How old were you when this was happening?
Oh, probably 40, 35, 40, something like
okay.
that. And I had a lot of fun with a dirt bike. So, and I went and bought a Yamaha, and the first dirt bike that Yamaha made just for dirt bike racing. And the dealer sponsored me, and I raced for him for a couple of years all around the country, mostly cross-country races, 200, 300, 400-mile races. Had an absolute ball racing bikes. I just raced every weekend that I could. And I did that for, up until what, 78 maybe? I was racing motorcycles before I met Marcia and got married. So I raced motorcycles, just throwing in a few horses here and there yonder while I was doing all that. Guns I've always been interested in, still am. I still buy and sell guns. I still collect guns. Still love them.
What kind of guns are you collecting
I'm
now?
mostly a Winchester collector. I buy other guns, but I try to sell them as soon as I can so I can get enough money together to buy a Winchester. They're expensive anymore.
What about building furniture? I would call that almost a hobby.
Yeah, I think Marcia started me on that. And while we were in Kanab, she wanted some furniture, so I started building furniture, and I've built quite a bit of furniture since then, and we still have quite a bit of it. It was fun to design and build something, to say it was your own, and I would still build something if I had something to do. In fact, we just built, in the archives, you look at a chicken house that looks like a complete little frontier movie town. So I like to build things. I do like to build things, whatever it is. A lot of it is wood. But I build my own furniture, I build my own buildings, I remodel and restore all of our houses. We've flipped 4 or 5 houses since we've been married. Did well financially. I haven't had to work a job since I quit when I was 52 years old in 1984. I haven't had to work for anybody. The good Lord's been good to us. And so we really can't complain. But yeah, making furniture is a hobby. Building is a hobby. Boats are a hobby. Guns are a hobby. Motorcycles were a hobby.
And starting businesses. How many businesses have you started?
Oh gosh, I don't know, Marcia.
Was the deli the first?
No.
Well, no, your television repair business.
I had a television repair business, and then, gosh, what did I do next? I was farming, ranching your own. In California, I had the aircraft sales business. Then I started a boat repair and refurbishing business, where I totally remodel boats. I started a camera store, Photoshop. Had a delicatessen, was very successful. Oh gosh, had a cowboy western wear store, successful.
Oh, Big Oak Ranch. We haven't
Big Oak
talked
Ranch
about
Cowboys.
gunfighting.
That's our other hobby, was acting. I got involved in acting in the 70s, doing mostly commercials in San Diego. My first commercial was a Nikon camera commercial in Los Angeles. And it was tough for television. And then after that I got an agent, so I started doing bit parts in movies and commercials. I've been doing it ever since. I've been doing stuff for 30 years. In fact, this is February of 2016, and I just did an audition the other day, and I have another one hopefully I can get on to. Anyway, acting is a hobby of mine. I do enjoy it. And we had our own gunfighting team. We started out going to an outfit called Big Oak Ranch, which put on shows for tourists, gunfight shows on weekends. We did that for several years, and then we broke away and started our own team. The team that I started and we operated on, we won the National Association of Old West Gunfighters competition in '84 and '85. We were the only ones that ever won it 2 years in a row. And it was successful, good bunch of guys. Different world from my dear little Marcia, but it was fun. And we had one son, David O'Brien, who was with our team too, and he had a good time doing it. He was one of our shooters. So we've had an interesting life.
Ray,
Yes,
what are you most proud of in your life?
you.
Oh,
That's the best thing I ever did with
like
Mary.
that answer.
Best thing I ever did with Mary Marcia. That and the church has been. I'm most proud of. Being who I am. I guess I don't really have any skills. I just have a whole lot of things I like to play with. And if I could go on for another 20 years, I would hopefully do 20 more different things each year. I don't know what they'd be, but I'd try to make them different.
Any regrets, Ray?
No regrets.
All right, now tell your children a bit about the LDS Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. How did you find it? And for Pete's sake, what made you join?
Well, not many people think I would join a church. I've never been a churchgoer, and my kids can attest to you I was never very good at taking them to church either. And I don't know why I joined the church, except when I heard about the church, actually heard about it, they answered every question I ever had about religion. The truth was there. And the minute I knew the truth was there, then I knew it was the true Church of God. And that's why I joined, because it was full of truths. I'd had 50 years of questions about church, and they answered every one of them. And when the Spirit moves you, somebody tells you something's right, time to do it. And it has been the best thing we've done. We've met wonderful people over the years. Good Lord's been good to us and guided us. We've had some real bad health issues. We've had some accidents. We've had some problems. But He's given us the strength to get through them. And I can't complain about that. In fact, I would recommend it to anybody and everybody if I could.
Children, are you listening?
Each of you little brats, some of you are doing very well. And I'm proud of all of you. But know this, if you have the good Lord on your side, you can't lose. And you can't ever feel bad about it.
Would you briefly tell how we found the church in St. George while we were traveling through?
Well, yeah, we were out looking for a place to retire. We didn't know what state we wanted to live in or where we wanted to be. And we were in southern Utah. And Marcia, as you and I, as all of you know, both of us are antique nuts. We both like antiques and old things. So we saw this beautiful white church sitting on a hill in St. George, Utah, and we drove over there to it to go through it. And they wouldn't let us go through. It was the St. George Temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But they had a visitor center there. And so we went out to the visitor center, and we talked to a gentleman there who was on his mission. And he told us the Joseph Smith story and about the church and about the prophets of today, which I thought was fascinating. We've always had prophets. They've been on earth since the beginning. Adam was a prophet. So why not have a prophet today? What's wrong with that? I thought, geez, that's got to be pretty wonderful to have prophets today. And we do have prophets today. And we left. Didn't do anything about anything. But a year later, we were back in Utah, still looking for a place to retire. And we drove through this little town of Kanab, and Marcia saw this old two-story house that was falling down, and she just had to have it. So we stopped and found a realtor. It was on a weekend, and he found the guy that owned it, and he sold it to us, and so we bought it that weekend. Then we decided we probably, after we got home, knowing this was a Mormon town, when I knew nothing about Mormons, Marcia knew some. I had never even heard of them. we ought to find out what a Mormon is if we're going to live amongst them. We really didn't know that Kanab was 100% Mormon.
Yes, we did.
But so when we got home, we called the missionaries. The Mormon Church has missionaries out all over the world, and they came and told us the story of the church and Joseph Smith, the prophets, and God's church. And they're the ones that answered our questions, and that's how we got to be in this church.
And who else joined in with the discussions?
Oh gosh, we were very lucky, blessed. Marcia's son David, her son Mick, his fiancee Shirley, David's fiancee Mickey, my daughter Tammy, all joined in that first year. Later on, her son David and his wife joined, and we have grandkids we've baptized. My daughter Cheryl was baptized. My mother at 81, if you could believe this, you guys don't know her, but I baptized her when she was 81 years old.
Why did she want to be baptized?
Because she knows she's going to be with Dad. And she found out there is a celestial world. There is a heaven. There is the opportunity to be together with your loved ones. And she wanted to be with Dad. They've been married 3 years when Dad died. And when she heard the story, she was just like me. She knew it was the truth. She heard the truth, and she wanted to live the truth. And so she was baptized, and I know she's up there with now, and we have since sealed them. So they're married in heaven too.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell your children before we close?
Oh, I don't know. You can tell me. You can prophesy all you want, but actually, kids, if you just live the truth, if you just love your family, your friends, you'll do fine. And I'd appreciate it.